9-Bit Armies is a fast-paced, command-and-conquer style RTS game. It was released in 2024 and was developed by Petroglyph Games, a small studio apparently made up of some former Westwood developers. They've been quietly cranking out solid RTS titles for years now, but are recently best known for their excellent work on the Command & Conquer Remastered collection. 9-Bit Armies is another entry in their lineup of retro-style RTS games, and a follow-up to 2016's 8-Bit Armies. It feels like CNC, it plays like CNC, but there's definitely something missing here. Let's find out what.
Going. Locking on. Locked on target.
9-Bit Armies plays like a fairly standard RTS game from the CNC/Red Alert era. You start with a single HQ building and slowly expand while scouting the map, harassing your enemies and defending your base. Like in CNC, buildings and units are queued up using the menu on the right side of the screen. Each uses one of the two resource types in the game, power and money. Power comes from power stations. The more buildings you have, the more power you need. If you go under a certain threshold, some of your buildings shut down. Money is collected from oil fields scattered around the map. You gather it by building harvesters and refineries. There are 4 types of units in the game: infantry, vehicles, air and sea, and each has its own production building. All very familiar so far, if you played any Westwood games. A neat addition to the formula are the megastructures. For example, if you build 4 power stations next to each other, they merge into a mega power station with a higher output. The same goes for stationary defenses and radars. I like it, and it makes you think more about where you place buildings. It works similarly with unit production. The more military buildings of a certain type you have, for example a barracks, the faster you can train that unit type. Unit types only spawn from one of their buildings at a time though, but switching which one is simple, just a single button click. There are 2 factions in the game, the Overlords and the Sentinels. They both play pretty much the same and don't force you to change your playstyle all that much. The main difference comes down to a few tanks and the super weapons each faction can build. The Overlords get a paratrooper cannon and nukes, while the Sentinels get a shrink ray and a big-ass laser. Despite the lack of variety, the units are responsive and easy to control. I also appreciate how large the battles can become. It sometimes reminds me of fights from Bar or Supreme Commander rather than Red Alert.
Barracks under attack.
Units follow a basic rock, paper, scissors type of system. Some are better against infantry, others against vehicles, and so on. But they don't really stand out that much, and I feel like the game is missing some of the crazier, more memorable units from Red Alert and Command & Conquer. They don't have any active abilities either, and can't garrison buildings. So most of the strategy comes down to positioning and timing. And while it keeps things simple, it's maybe a bit too shallow for me in the long run. The simplest strategy I found was just to gather up all my dudes in a death ball and smash them against the enemy, which, to be fair, is usually how I played Red Alert 2. That's not to say the AI is bad though. Even on easy and medium, I was often on the back foot, having to defend against flanking attacks or quickly build units to counter theirs. So I don't really have any complaints about the AI opponent. It feels competent and fun to fight against, which is more than you can say about a lot of other RTS games.
Commander!
So let's get into the different game modes. Currently you got 2 campaigns, a skirmish mode against AI or other players, and a horde-style survival mode. Every mode is also playable in co-op, which is a nice touch. There's also a rotating daily challenge, that's basically a skirmish match with some modifiers and a leaderboard. Let's start with the campaign. There are 24 missions in total, 12 for each faction. Each mission has 3 visible objectives, marked as bronze, silver and gold stars. There's also a hidden 4th objective in every level. Bronze star is your main objective and is required to finish the mission. Silver and gold are optional. Silver usually asks you to defend a structure or capture a specific area, while gold is always a timed challenge that wants you to finish the mission within a certain time limit. Finishing missions unlocks new units and buildings and gives your faction veterancy bonuses. Each mission is also replayable, and the game encourages you to revisit earlier ones later on, once you're stronger. The campaign is fine, but it didn't really grab me. There's some light story stuff that sets up each mission, but I found it kinda bland and forgettable. Just like with the units, I feel like the campaign is missing some of that charm from the older CNC games. And even though the gold objective is optional, I found the constant timer stressful. I really wish there was more variety when it comes to the challenges. The campaign does introduce some unique enemies, but to be honest, I didn't finish it. I usually like RTS campaigns, but there was just nothing here that managed to hold my attention. Like with most RTS games, I spent the majority of my time in the skirmish mode against AI. And like I mentioned earlier, the AI here is extremely competent and fun to fight. There are plenty of maps to play on too. Only complaint I have is that the AI never surrenders, so you're forced to hunt down every single last building, even when they can't produce units anymore. Next up is Survival, a game that was an unexpected highlight for me. It's wave-based and it challenges you to defend against increasingly difficult waves of enemies while managing your economy and defenses. It also features a ton of unique enemies. Most of them are pulled from Petroglyph's older titles. It gets extremely hectic in the late game and really rewards good decision making, base building and unit variety. My only complaint is that there are only 3 maps to choose from, and as fun as the game mode is, it could really benefit from a deeper map pool. A bit on the visuals and music before moving on. 9-bit Armies has a pretty unique art style. It goes for a bright, chunky, pixelated look. Building, units and explosions all pop nicely, and everything is usually easy to read at a glance. The simple art style also keeps the game running smoothly, even when the screen is filled with units. But like I mentioned earlier a few times, nothing really stands out as memorable. If seen outside of the game, I'd have a hard time telling units and buildings from each faction apart. It all just feels a bit sterile and bland. The same cannot be said about the music though, which is excellent. It's made by CNC legend Frank Klepacki and is an incredible mix of synth, rock and electronic music. Give it a listen. I enjoyed my time with 9-bit Armies. If you're an old school RTS player and desperate for a CNC fix, there are far worse ways to spend $20. Even though the art style feels a bit bland and the campaign didn't quite land for me, the game plays well, and it's definitely something I'll keep checking out. There's also a free roguelike mode coming out later this year, which I'm curious about. Let me know what you thought about 9-bit Armies. And if you liked the video, remember to like and subscribe. And as always, thank you for watching.